Positive feedback may be the most important tool in any leader's toolbox. Welcome back, everyone, and today we're going to work on nothing but positive feedback. And actually, we're going to cut this into two parts. First is going to be when we talk about the correct utilization of positive feedback and what positive feedback is. Quite simply, positive feedback is providing that information and that dialogue when a team member does something well. When they perform to standards, when they do something really well, when they handle a customer well, when they meet or exceed a deadline, that's when we as leaders need to say, good job, nicely done. That's positive feedback. I mentioned in the introduction a concept called operant conditioning. Operant conditioning is a piece of science that tells us that as humans or animals for that matter perform and perform well, they need to hear that they've done that. That causes them to replicate that behavior. This is really important to remember because the purpose of positive feedback is to provide and to achieve a replication of a rewarded or positive behavior or piece of performance. It's not about feeling good. It's not about warm and fuzzy stuff. It is about getting that team member to repeat a piece of positive behavior or rewarded performance. Now let's talk about a little bit about what that sounds like. Don't overthink this. This does not have to be any kind of elaborate, long, scripted thing. This really has to be a very, very simple phrasing of good job, thank you, and then add the piece of specificity for what they did well. That's a really important element because with that specificity comes the sincerity piece. A lot of leaders are afraid to provide too much positive feedback because they think it won't be perceived as being real and genuine. Well, when you add the specificity of what they did, it'll always be perceived as being genuine. So again, it's, hey, thanks, great job on that report. That's the specificity piece. Hey, you did a really, really nice job handling that customer. There's the specificity piece. Now let's talk about some of the technical elements of positive feedback. First, timing. This has got to be as immediate as humanly possible. Every piece of elapsed time that occurs between the team member performing the event and you're providing the positive feedback, you're eliminating some of the impact of that positive feedback. So as close to immediate as possible is really, really important for you. The other thing that you want to be very, very careful of here in delaying or deferring positive feedback is a phenomenon called the why bother syndrome. And quite simply what that is a team member that does something well doesn't hear anything from their leader. They kind of develop that why bother approach. Now, some of you will probably admit that your working groups and your teams have a little bit of that why bother in it. The way to cure that is by heavy doses of positive feedback and delivered with as much urgency and immediacy in timing as you can possibly do. In our experience, when that why bother becomes prevalent in a working group, that's one of the most toxic elements that exists. In addition to immediacy, I also want to talk about the style that you deliver positive feedback. First and foremost is I need you to be direct. Now, what this does is it absolutely makes sure that there is no loss of clarity in relaying the message. You don't want to tell stories. You don't want to use a lot of extra language. You simply want to say, good job with that. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. End. Again, this is not a case for storytelling. This is not a case to add a lot of other information to the mix. And it's certainly not the case to add the dreaded but statement. The dreaded but statement sounds like this. You did a really nice job with that report, but I could have used you to format the third column over a little differently. If you use that style and approach, you're absolutely eliminating all of the value of the positive piece that you had up front. If the team member did well, they need to hear well. You did a really nice job with that report. End. One other approach element that I'd like you to consider, and that is your demeanor. Some of us, by the very nature of our personality, can come across a little bit flat Some of us can even come across a little bit harsh at times. When you deliver positive feedback, it's incredibly important that the team member feel the message as well as hear the message. That means that your demeanor has to be a little bit more upbeat. For some of you, that's very, very naturalized and very, very normal. For others of you, you're really going to have to work on it. It's okay to smile when you tell them, good job, nicely done. Make sure they feel the message as well as hear the message.